Welcome, wonderful souls, to the Lightness of Being Podcast. I'm Monika Stefanik, your guide for a deep dive into a world where magic, reality, and divine love intersect. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin. Welcome, beautiful beings.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, Cathleen.
Hello.
I think we are on episode 26 or something.
Oh my
like
gosh.
that. I know, season 2, episode 3 for sure of season 2.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, welcome to the beginning of new season.
Thank you.
You are an intuitive reader, psychic, all around magical, incredible creature. That is just offering so much beautiful magic in this world.
Oh, thank you.
Can you tell me just something that you're celebrating right now?
Yeah, I'm just celebrating life, focusing more on really counting my blessings and being in wonder and amazement of how many blessings there are, you know? So that's what I'm celebrating right now. And also love the fact that it's almost September because I'm such a fall winter person and I'm totally joyful about that. So
Ready
coming
for the
into my
leaves
year.
to start falling.
Oh
and
yeah,
all the
oh yeah.
colors to start changing.
And this is the weekend I changed the decorations in my house to the fall leaves, you know.
You're like, I'm ready. We're here for it.
Labor
Even though
Day
it's going to be 90 next week.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. We're
Labor
here.
Day is the changeover in my house. So yeah.
I love that for you. Yeah. You feel like a fall.
Oh, fall winter.
Autumn person.
Totally, yes. Yeah.
What's the biggest blessing in your life right now?
My husband. I was thinking about it. Totally. He's I just feel so lucky, you know, to have him because, you know, I'm just still so much in love with him after all these years. And, you know, when he walks in the door, my little heart flutters. And yeah, he's just, you know, somebody that I had to wait for a while. I'm not that I had to, but came in later in life. And I'm just so thankful for him and our relationship.
I love that. Well, that leads me naturally into actually asking some questions from this. I don't know if you've heard of this card game before. It's not even really like a card game. It's like a conversation starter, and it's all about communication and deep listening and inviting space for like vulnerability and meaningful moments.
Oh, wow.
It's called and the company is called The Skin Deep. And I was just pulling some cards in preparation for this space. And one of the ones that stuck the most for me, which I'm so glad this is where it's going. How has your understanding of love changed throughout your life?
Oh, that is a great question. And that's such a great, beautiful. Yes. Okay. So in my younger years, you know, I was in a very broken state. You know, a lot of us are pretty broken. And love meant something outside of myself. You know, like I needed, you know, I disliked myself so much or hated myself so much that something outside of myself was needed to feel love, whether it be, you know, a concert or, a fling with a guy or a relationship, but mostly just, you know, craving for the perfect love externally. And through that incorrect drive, I gathered quite a lot of pain, you know, because on that trajectory of seeking love outside yourself, you're not going to find it. And you're probably going to go to places that are not best for you because you're approaching them from your lower self-image, right? So after a lot of hard lessons, I prayed, which is something I didn't do, you know, to whatever is out there at that point. And my prayers were answered by starting to learn how to meditate and do all the things I do to heal. But mostly the deepest healing I got was understanding my relationship or all our relationships with divinity. You know, if you call it source, God. And that is love. That is perfect love. And it's accessible to all of us, you know, through meditation. It's really intent, you know, so, you know, if you want to make that shift inside and just, you know, understand how much love that you really are, because you are love, and that you're part of the love of the universe, that starts to shift the polarity inside so that you start to feel love for yourself. And it's not it doesn't mean it's like selfish, conceited love, like, oh, I'm so great, listen to me. It's like a deep peace that you feel in your heart. And it's, just about, the Holy Spirit coming into you. And you don't have to be any particular religion or anything. It's just about allowing the divine presence into your heart, right? So from there, and that took a while. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, okay, and here I am. No, I had to battle quite a lot of my own demons for a long time in that process. But I had a real drive to understand, to live life in a good way, to live life in a way I knew I could inside, where it was that I could be happy and at peace and I could function well. And, even during that time, I'd be dating here and there, and I still wanted that husband, who wasn't coming. And that sort of made me really sad. Anyway, the more I got to know myself and just be at peace with who I am and at peace with my place in the world, the universe, the more I just experienced love, and I found what I love to do. Whether it's play music or do readings or, hang out with friends. Like, these are things that I love to do, not so much that I was looking to get love from. Mm-hmm. And then when I was ready, later in life, my husband came in, and he had also done a lot of his own work, and found that internal love in himself first. And so now our marriage was built on, having God or source first in our minds. Mm. Therefore, our relationship can be even more lovely. So it's gone through an incredible turnaround in my life. And it's still a journey I'm on. You learn more, and you still have your patterns, that you slip and fall down sometimes. But the self-esteem I have right now it's just like light years away from where it was when I started on this journey. And what I love to do is share with people it's there for everybody. I'm not special or perfect. We're all here with the same spiritual gifts to tune into our own divinity, to our true selves, to really have that internal connection, if that's what your driving force is. Mm-hmm. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So much for sharing that. I feel like listening to you speak to that is just so, and having you here as like because everyone that's in our field, everything is a mirror, right? So I definitely feel like right now where I'm at, because you've seen me go through some interesting relationships over the last couple of years.
I have seen that.
Guided me through some things. Right now where I feel like I'm at is in that space of really, it's been a continual process of cultivating that deep self-love. Mm-hmm. And it's looked really messy sometimes. Like there's always first that recognition of like, wow, I do not love myself.
Yeah.
Which is so hard. Mm-hmm. But it's that awareness of like, okay, now that I'm aware of that, I can choose to do something about it, or choose to continue on in the same patterns. And I feel like those same patterns even still do, at least for me, they still continue to come in. But there was this underlying of like, okay, how am I still going to choose myself and love myself? And now I feel like I'm in a space where I am moving forward in the world for me, and not necessarily my patterns were to always take in the consideration of like a new connection that I'm in, or like a relationship, whether it's like friends or romantic, or even like going dancing and all these other things, without actually tuning in and asking is this actually what brings me joy, and does this actually feed my body and my soul and nurture me, even though I think it should, but is it actually? And so now actually like sitting and resonating in this space of like doing movement that actually feels really good for me and my body in the moment, and nurturing connections, and also still like living and creating my life, and not conforming my schedule and going out of my way to be the one that's always like really flexible, which is beautiful to be able to do that. But in some ways I'm also kind of like forcing something. So in that space of like continuing to choose me, I just keep getting this resonance of like, oh yeah, everything that's meant for you, whether it's like a relationship or friendships or all of these other things in business, it's going to magnetize in when you continually choose yourself and create that beautiful connection with God, source, the divine, and have have those moments of connection to come to. Even last night, I was just moving through some stuff, and like the only thing I knew how to do was to just get in front of the altar and just like sit there and just let things come through as they naturally did, but like hold myself in my center through it all. And everything shifted and moved through, and I slept great, and I didn't get to bed too late and all the things. But in the past used to be this whole like, I'm gonna go into the story, and oh my God, I'm gonna go. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's wonderful to see you grow like that. And, you never got to see my past relationships. You know what I mean? So, it's funny. And I was teaching last night. I had this really fun class of women. And I was saying, here you see me after 35 years on my spiritual path, right? But I really like to be clear that I'm, walking through life just the same.
Yeah.
And, there's always stuff that comes up, and, more internal reflection, and being on the spiritual path, or that desire of understanding love and who you are, is messy. It's, sometimes people think, okay, once I start, being on a spiritual path, everything's going to be beautiful. And no, that's not
No,
true.
it's like the total opposite.
It is. I mean, because you start, looking at yourself, and like that realization of like, oh my God, I don't love myself. That's huge. But if you look at it, particularly women, if we truly loved ourselves, why will we keep throwing ourselves away? Because you obviously don't understand how precious we are on a soul level, how precious our energy is. We'll just give it to some guy or this relationship, and then what you mentioned was really profound, just about how, this is another women pattern of how we'll kind of compromise ourselves to accommodate other people. And I had one of my students last night realize that exact same thing. And she's like, I've been doing this and now I'm not. So just being able to just, own your space, give yourself space in this world, and voice and sort of command what you need, what your boundaries are. These are all wonderful things and wonderful lessons that come from truly growing inside,
And going through really messy situations.
Yeah, messy. And, it's really beautiful because it is messy, but there's so much angelic presence, and there's so much, when you put your attention on our creator. And it's funny because in my classes, and even here we're saying our creator, our source. Why I say that is because people have a lot of religious trauma. And so in my classes, I'll say our creator, because it does point to a higher power without bringing up triggers, and I encourage people to have their own, what I call a login to that. And actually for me, it's Christ. Christ is what really, gets me logged in. And I'm not like a Bible thumper Christian. I just, that the spirit he brought to the planet is what I connect with. But in my classes, you want to keep it neutral to help people guide, so we end up saying source, or, it's whenever we talk about God, it's God. We have a couple of different names. But that's why
it means for you.
It's what it means for you, and what the login is for you. And, as a teacher and reader, it's finding that word that goes through very quickly or very smoothly,
Because you want to invite people into that space without bringing up that trauma. And there may be like little bits of it that hang out there. It's so interesting that you speak to that, because I was actually, just before you came, I was thinking about the Bend to Balance event that's coming up. And I was like, thinking about how one of the presentations I'm going to do, how I'm going to open it and start it. And I really like to drop people in with like, meditation, but what I wanted to do was a prayer. And it's a prayer. It's not like a prayer,
but
as
see,
we know.
Exactly, you got to explain it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I was sitting in the space of like, okay, well, if I want to do that, is it that about me? Is that actually going to serve the multitude of people that are going to be there? Because I don't want people to come into that space and then immediately leave because I'm starting off with a prayer. And so I'm in this contemplative space of like, is this actually going to serve? Is there a way that I can like approach that of like, maybe I do it, maybe I ask everyone how they feel about that. And like, even though, but like the word prayer alone can be,
it can be
for
loaded.
me, it was very loaded a long time ago. So I'm like, I understand it and I completely get it. And I don't want to trigger anyone in that space, but I also like what I have to share is so beautiful. So I'm like, I want you to experience this, but also like, I don't want to trigger you. So
well, here's the thing with that. I mean, that's coming from your gut, your intuition to do that, right? So those words you just said are great. I want to say this, but I don't want this to trigger you, but it's it's really tricky in a teaching situation because it's about being like obedient to what you're receiving. Because whatever you're receiving for this class, you're actually tuned in to who's going to be there, all the things. And sometimes it's scary, like, oh my God, if I say something like this, it's going to blow people out of the water. It doesn't usually, but yeah, so that's beautiful, whatever, but it's the same thing. It's like the words have so much energy on them, prayer, God, so much so that, it's got the whole world scrambling around looking for love outside of ourselves, right? And really there's such a divine presence and so much love available for your support and growth. And what I love to do is help to guide people into that internal connection, that love, and help them to release those those traumas, people being hypocrites in the name of God, or, particularly hypocrites, or condemning, like all the stuff that the beauty of the Lord would never do, rules and regulations, that's not what it's about. But I found that that's kind of my core purpose, is just that. And then ultimately that's what triggers your intuition more. That's, is turning on your light, which is that awareness of, who you are in divine ways, helps automatically open up your intuition. You start that journey of using it to function better,
Greetings, beautiful beings. I am popping in really quickly to share a beautiful and free ebook that is just for you. And it's all about falling in love with your life. This free guide is built on everything that has helped me transform and shape my reality, from pain and sorrow to freedom and bliss and flow and joy. I share this from a space of encouraging you to a deep place of self-empowerment, of truly getting to choose for you each and every moment of each and every day, and really falling in love with the life that you get to create. So this ebook also holds a very exciting invitation for a prosperous path to wellness that has transformed my life in miraculous ways. And I would love to have you on that journey with me. You can access this amazing content by signing up for my email list, which there's a link down in the show notes. I'm really grateful that you're here. Let's get back to the conversation. Will you share a little bit about how you guide people through, and what your work is, and the name of your practice that you have created?
Yeah, the practice is Cathleen, Hylton, Intuitive Reader and Teacher, LLC.
But your website is called Blessing Center.
It's called Blessing Center because that was just a great name that was available. I think actually my business a few iterations ago was Blessing Center. I think it was. But, I've been through a bunch of different names, but this one is where I am right now. And I offer readings. And the word psychic is another one that had a lot of buzz on it. So I didn't use the term psychic for a long time because it immediately took people in a weird way. And even today, like I did this reading party for this group of women the other day, and a number of them hadn't had readings, and they're like, well, I don't want to hear anything bad. So there's this connotation that getting a psychic reading is that you're gonna predict all sorts of bad stuff about them. A lot of misperceptions. Long way of saying that's why I use the word intuitive reader instead of psychic. But now I'm finding myself combining both of those words because I feel like there's less buzz, and with it, people can understand a little bit more what I'm doing. So I do intuitive psychic readings. And that's just taking a look at your energy field, looking at the colors and the patterns and all the things, and just helping you release what you're ready to release. So it helps you feel centered, more validated. I do those in different lengths, or I can do a series. Sometimes people come and they have a lot going on and they need a series. But anybody who comes to me, it's very tailor-made. It's, okay, hey, you got a reading and that's cool. We'll see you next year. Or like, hey, yeah, maybe you want to come in a couple of weeks. It's everybody's different. I also do something called Akashic record readings. And that's a big one today. Everyone's like, Akashic records, what are they? And that's another thing. There's all these misperceptions. Like, you can access your own records. It's easy, right? But there's all this misinformation out there like, well, you have to be a master to blah, blah, blah. And really,
it seems like it's this big thing that's so far away from us.
Yeah. Actually, no, it's really not. So first of all, I do those readings because I love visiting the Akashic records. And for people that don't know how to use their own yet, I'll just, with their permission, access their records. And oh my gosh, so many fun things come up, and it's always different, because it's your soul's journey, right? Or you are soul, your journey as a soul through everything that's ever been. So every thought, action, and deed lives here. So there's so many cool things that come up. So that's it on what I do for, sessions. And then teaching wise, I teach you how to access your Akashic records. Very simple. And then I love to teach intuitive classes. Like I just ended a 3-week meditation and energy healing. And I've done this a couple of times, and I love this because people come in, with no experience, some experience, and we actually practice meditation, which is friggin' easy. Another thing, oh, I can't meditate. I can't stop the brain. It's not, you're not supposed to sit there and stop your thoughts. No. It's just about being centered and letting your thoughts be, right? And so I love showing people that. And they're like sitting there in meditation in like 5 seconds. They're like, wow, I can do it. And, we learn different, energy tools and techniques to help, live life better. And then I have something called a sacred site psychic reading. I use the word psychic this time, certification. And I've been teaching people how to do readings for a number of years because ultimately going through that process, even if you don't decide you want to be a reader for your profession, totally tunes you up intuitively. Oh my gosh, it's getting you to use your sixth chakra, your third eye, to view things through, which is your place where you're neutral, right? The more you live in your center, the more neutral you are, which doesn't mean you're not moved, or doesn't mean you don't feel things. It just means you're not moved as much, and you just learn so much about your own energy system. And as you learn to do readings, you receive readings, or you receive healings, do a healing, receive. And so those are just so much fun. And this is the first time I'm doing something called a certification, and so it's like when they're finished, they'll be certified by me as a reader, of course, if they do, of course, if they do not if they phone it in, so it just gives people a little piece of paper, and so that's really exciting. That's starting actually next week.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. Exciting. Yeah. And then I love to do parties. Like I get called for bachelorette parties or psychic parties, and those are so fun. Show up and do parties, do things like you and I did this wonderful thing where we had a client that wanted readings and massage, so we tag teamed, and that was a really great. We had so much fun, and these women, they just got such a healing. So I love working with other people too, collaborating.
It really shows you the power of being able to come together with the right container.
Exactly. And then you and I have taught classes on money, which has been really fun. So that's
Money Book Club.
Money Book Club right now. Yes. Yes.
Bringing up lots of stuff.
Yeah, I know. That's fun. We're having a great book club. But anyway, so those are the main things I do.
Yes. And I can attest that Kathleen's readings are, I cry every single time. Like there's an easefulness to it where it is like, okay, this thing is here, and if you want to release it, it's there for you, but it's not like a forceful or a push, or it's even the stuff that does come up. It's not like jolting, you know. It's like it's a very calm and kind and very sweet awareness of what's there.
Cool. Well, thank you.
I've been so grateful
for
the space that you've held in that way.
Yeah.
Was like how did you start to develop these more like intuitive senses? Was it around the time that you like going through these big shifts in your life and like got down and started praying, or what was that?
Yeah, it
like?
was. I mean, part of now looking back, part of my insane upbringing until I was, 22 or something is because I was so sensitive and I didn't know how to manage the energy, right?
I can relate.
Yeah, totally. And so, of course, the drugs, the alcohol, a lot of stuff like that. And that's when I prayed. And so then I was just brought to a place where I learned how to do readings and to meditate. And it wasn't like, sometimes people ask me like, well, when did you see this when you were a kid? I'm like, no, man, I was a lost puppy and I had no thoughts about, well, I'm psychic, but it was the answer to the prayer that took me on a path that gave me tools to handle my sensitivities. And I remember like when I first started to meditate, it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Or my first reading I ever got, I was living in Berkeley at the time.
Like
and
you received a reading from someone else?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember walking across campus afterwards and just I could feel my aura being clean for the first time. And so it was really, and then learning to do readings was the first thing I was ever felt like I was good at. And I just loved it. I just loved it. And it just became my way of life. And a lot of stumbling and lots of stumbling because, I was so out of my body, from all the men and drugs and all things, and couldn't hold a job down, just all the things. I didn't really get a real job till I was 30. I was very slow in developing things, but it took quite a lot of work to start to be able to function well in the world, So it's funny. It's, I'm aware of my skills, but it's just at this point part of my life. And I'm so sold that everybody else has them. I don't really feel much different than other people. The only thing is that I've spent many years on a dedicated path of self-discovery and have learned a lot and gone through a lot of darkness. But everybody can do it. It just really it depends on your intent. Like what are you here to live in this world? Are you choosing to be caught in confusion and hate your life? Some people choose that and that's okay, but you also have a choice to really, get to know yourself and get to know your relationship to God as you, and just having a wonderful life full of a lot of blessings,
It's such a beautiful journey to get to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like me personally feeling like I'm, pretty freshly in that space of it. It's like the pain and the hardship and the mess is so incredibly worth it for the blessings.
Oh, it is. Always
The
is.
richness of life and the love and the just magnetism that like is in this world. Like this morning, I was even just laying in my bed in the way that my window faces east, so the sun kind of comes through these trees and it like dances on the window, which then dances on my face, and just like sitting there and reveling in like that small little moment of like experiencing life and living. Like that's not something that I've ever in the past, because of like where I was, would have been able to experience, and so it's not just like one day you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm so deeply present.
Yeah,
and like
no.
now I'm like so tapped and tuned into all of the beauty that's around you. But it's just it takes going through that like dark night of the soul and our quote unquote spiritual awakening. Yeah, it's not all light and love, but
no,
you get to that space and it still has its like ups and downs and roller coaster craziness, and it's all beautiful because you reach a state where you're like, oh, even the mess is magical.
That to me, I think, was probably the best realization I finally had, is that, when things are really, really dark, I always know that, light wins. I always know that this will pass. And, because I used to, like the dark night of the soul, that's dark, it's like, holy boy, it just seems like, but again, the only thing that's dark and what's dying is what's not you. Right. And so I've learned to have so much faith in the goodness of this, of God, that, when I'm going through rough times, I know I'm being held, that took a while, because going through those dark times, and we're not talking about dark times of being in darkness. It's like, as you get more light, you go through these,
Yes.
so it's part of your path. It's really easy to kind of
uncover
freak
those things
out.
that are
Yeah.
deeply down in the shadow.
Yeah.
Like that's what the light does, is it
Yeah, it
shines
shows
onto
that.
the
Yeah.
shadow. Yeah.
Yep. So, but you always, and then, my God, you feel like a whole new person after you're through it, and
a whole new resiliency.
oh no, that's the thing. You get so friggin' strong and resilient. Like where you used to.
Not from a space of force, though.
No,
it's like a deep inner knowing of like,
yeah,
I'm stable.
You're stable.
Strong, like I got this. Yeah.
And it helps you therefore, like, manage so much more in your life without being moved. Kind of what we were talking about before.
Because stress and change is inevitable. That's just part of what it is to like be a human being on this planet. It's just like we have tools and techniques now to help us find ways to manage that with so much more ease and grace. But it's a choice.
It's a choice, yeah. And one of the things I've been really passionate about, you were asking about this before, is the choice right now is, well, right now there's so much light hitting the planet. That's why things seem to be more intense, right? And so our choice right now is, you can focus on that light, or decide to dive in and join everybody else in complaining and this, that, and the other thing, and this is crazy and that's crazy. Yeah, the world is always nuts.
It's always nuts.
It always has been, right?
That's not going to change.
It's not going to change. The difference is it's really amplified with social media and stuff. But at the same time, right now, there's so much healing energy to tap into, and there's so many people around the world that are tuned into it. It's really fun to use your senses for that. And you start to remove yourself. I remember teaching this class at the apothecary. This woman commented about removing yourself from the Borg. And the Borg was this part of Star Trek. Which
I was like, I've heard that word before.
Yeah, it was just like this big system, right, that you would get plugged into, right? And so it was a great picture, because it's like that you're removing yourself from this big structure of craziness, and plugging into light. And I thought that was such a great analogy. So I always encourage people to give that a shot if that's in their heart, and because the minute you just sit still or breathe and you decide to put your attention on something that's light or good, it comes to you.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
I love the most prominent space for that with me right now is with money, which is, of course, because of the book club that we're doing, and just where I'm at in my life. And I've noticed, even since we had our last book club, that I'm just more aware now of like the thoughts that I have of like, oh, like I can't afford this, or oh, I want to do that thing, but I can't, like whatever the story is, it's like very quickly now I'm able to be like, wait, how can I tune into the energy of money and actually ask for support and actually ask for help here and be like, well, what else is possible with this, instead of but it's a very slow refinement process. Being aware of like what's coming up. But the second that I do that, because like I'll start to feel heavy and dense when I'm like thinking about like, oh, I don't know if I can do that thing, or like, oh, bills this month, like dang it. And then the second I'm like, wait, like money's just an energy, and I can actually ask for it to support me in all of these different ways. And the second that happens, I'm like, oh, life I'm not like, I don't have to worry. Like it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah. It's great living in faith.
Yeah, completely. Okay. I have to ask you a fill in the blank question.
Okay. Okay.
The purpose of life is to,
what I would say is to understand your own divinity, like we're talking about, tune into yourself on the spiritual nature, understand have direct connection to heaven here on earth, and live the best life you can.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit more to the Akashic records? Because I also feel like I'm in that space of like, it seems like this big thing and I don't really understand it. I was like, I do, but I do not.
Well, it's if you can view it like a library, And sometimes when you go there, it looks like a library. Actually, it does quite often. So imagine that, here we are linearly in 2025, but anything that has ever happened is recorded there, right? Every thought, action, everything.
On your soul's journey.
Yeah.
So from past lives.
And everybody else's, right? So this is you, like, if you think about it, you're going to take a ride, drive from Oregon to, Pennsylvania, and you're going to take a journal along the way. This is your journey on a soul level. And it's your whole journey, and it goes through past lives and how everything is interacted. So it's like this highway of things. And, so accessing it on your own is very easy, right? And that's why I teach it. It's, in my classes, you keep practicing and practicing and practicing, kind of get it in there. But the experience of going to your records, it's really just, it's just putting your attention on different state of mind, right? Very easy to access. And I know, like, when I visit, I feel love. And you also have certain guides there. You have, like, sometimes you might have relatives that have passed, or figures, like I have, different archetypal guides, let's put it that way. And you have a master guide of your records. And that master guide you might not always meet, but if you go there for information or you get a reading and you're not ready to hear the things, that there's a control on that, right? But anyway, it's just very beautiful. And so for me, like, I'll go there, and if I have a question, about something in life, you just have a very specific question, and you kind of sit there, and then you get your answers in that moment, or you just feel fulfilled and you get your answers later. You can ask for healing. I've often got great healings from my records. So it's a very useful tool. I've also gone to different classes up there, where things are being taught on a spirit level. And the more you practice, the more clearer it is. Maybe when you're first doing it, you're not fully feeling like you're walking around, So in the beginning levels, what I teach is just like, okay, go there, ask a simple question, see what happens, meet your guides. What are you feeling? And the energy is always so beautiful, because people are really accessing them. And with that, there is no future, right? People, tell me my future. When am I going to meet that man?
Like, is there like that
it's possibilities? It's possibilities.
Based on the choices that I'm making right now.
And that's the way it is. That's why I never do predictions, because everything is pliable. But so what you can see is possibilities, that if your energy's going this way or that way, or if I'm doing a reading, what are the possibilities that you're creating,
by following this, like, if you were to continue this path that you're on right now.
Yep, exactly. And what's so cool is, like, when I do a reading of them, I always, like, when people get an intuitive reading, I just do a general reading first. But Akashic records are really good if you have really specific questions, so I'll say, okay, give me a couple of questions, and I'll start the reading, and it's just so fascinating what comes up. Everything's different. Like, why do I have this weird energy with this person, and I might see the entanglements now, but it might relate back to a past life. And then also what it's amazing to see is people before they came into this life, what their intentions were. That's really cool. Like,
we're
wow.
Gonna have to do that sometime.
Yeah, no, it's so neat. And then oftentimes there's what's called missing information that we have. Like, for instance, I'll work with people that during this life at some point, sometimes different things happen, and almost like you almost sort of lose some information about, mostly spiritual information about how to handle things. So we might keep going around and around, and oftentimes their guides bring in that information so that you can give it to them. There's guides there that give healings. And so it's just so much fun. And I love to see people access them on their own. So, those are the main things. Again, I can't, be stronger in saying that anybody can do it, but the important thing is that your intentions need to be pure, like, it's not going to work if you want to go to your records because you want to rule the world, and, anything in spirituality is intention, right? So fortunately, the people that come to me have clear intentions. If somebody didn't, I wouldn't work with them anymore.
Yeah, and you can feel that
I'd have
right
to.
off the bat.
Yeah. Well, most of you would, but depending on the first question, is like, well, I want to control my wife. I'll be okay. I'm going to give you your money back. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, but it's such a great tool. It's just so fun. And guaranteed you've been there before.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's like, absolutely in meditation or different places, everybody has been. But it's not like you're in the Akashic records right now, So it is something you've accessed. And so oftentimes when you learn how to do it, it's very familiar. Like, oh yeah, I recognize this vibe.
Thank you for listening to some of today's episode. If you would like to hear the full conversation, along with exclusive interviews, mindfulness-based practices and sessions, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more, then please head over to my Patreon page, which is linked down below in the show notes. This podcast gets to prosper, and so does our community when we come together to support each other in sharing our unique gifts in this world. I'm very grateful for your support, and I look forward to connecting more. Big love.